You ever get that feeling, that nagging sense that something's off? Like, the world we're told about, the one with all the opportunities, it just doesn't quite match up with what you actually see, or maybe what you experience yourself.
Yeah, like a disconnect.
Exactly. There's this old promise, it's been like a guiding star for generations, but maybe the map has changed? And that promise, it's wrapped up in this one really powerful idea, the American dream.
Mm-hmm. The defining myth, really.
Right. This deep belief that anyone, doesn't matter where you start, can make it, can achieve success, prosperity, just through hard work.
It's powerful stuff.
But you look around now, inequality, wages not really moving, debt piling up, and you have to ask, is that dream, is it still alive? Or is it more like a fantasy for most people now?
And maybe even deeper than that.
Yeah.
What assumptions have we made? What cultural patterns around success, around opportunity, have we maybe just overlooked? And how has that shaped things?
Okay, so that's what we're digging into today.
That's the mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
So we're sort of putting on our cultural detective hats, trying to uncover the hidden social dynamics behind this huge idea.
Right.
Look at its history, how it's changed, and critically where it stands now.
Yeah.
How has this shaped America, and can it actually survive the challenges we're facing in the 21st century?
Okay, detective hats on.
Yeah.
So, Genesis, where do we start tracing this? What first pulled those European colonists over here? What was the spark?
Well, it's fascinating. The roots go way back. When those first colonists came, it wasn't just about finding new land. They were looking for a whole new way of organizing society.
Okay.
The promise was pretty clear. Loads of land. Yeah, opportunity, definitely. But also, crucially, freedom. Freedom from those really strict inherited class structures they had in Europe.
Where your birth basically decided your life.
Exactly. So this continent, seemingly empty to them, offered something radical, a chance to start over, to build a life based on what you could do, on merit, not who your parents were. It was like a massive social experiment.
So, this idea was kind of floating around for centuries implicitly. When did it actually get the name? When did someone say, that's the American dream?
It took a while. It wasn't really until 1931. A historian, James Cruslow Adams, he popularized the term in his book, The Epic of America.
Okay, 1931. What was his definition?
He called it that dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement.
Better and richer and fuller.
Yeah, and notice, even back then, it wasn't just about money. That's key. It was always meant to be more like a cultural framework, a psychological belief system almost, rooted in this idea that your effort, your hard work, that's what determines your success.
A direct challenge to that old world idea of birthright.
Absolutely. Your destiny wasn't fixed at birth anymore, or at least that was the promise.
So how did that promise, that aspiration, get so tied up with that specific post-World War II image? You know, the one, the booming suburbs, the economic explosion.
Ah, right. That post-war era really is the golden age for the dream, as we typically picture it. It was a period of just incredible economic growth, unlike anything before. Wages were climbing, the middle class was expanding.
And the GI Bill played a big role.
Oh, huge. It gave millions of veterans access to education, to housing loans. It was transformative. But what's really striking is how this period cemented the image of the dream. Owning a home, that became the ultimate symbol, the tangible proof you'd made it.
It wasn't just about economics then. It became a cultural ideal. It seeped into everything.
Totally. The 50s, the 60s, you saw it everywhere. TV shows, movies, ads, they all pushed this ideal. The house in the suburbs, the steady job, moving up in the world.
The nuclear family, white picket fence.
That iconic image, yeah. It wasn't just one way to live. It became the picture of American success. It shaped what people thought a good life was supposed to look like, and maybe who was supposed to live it.
Which brings us to the tougher questions, looking underneath that shiny surface. If we're being social detectives, we have to ask, who was this dream actually for back then? What was it built on?
And that's critical.
Yeah.
Because when you look closer, you see the dark side. The reality is that dream, in many ways, was built by excluding and exploiting whole groups of people.
Okay.
It really challenges that idea of universal opportunity. Take African Americans, for example. They were systematically shut out of so many of those post-war benefits. Practices like redlining.
Where banks literally drew lines on maps around black neighborhoods and wouldn't lend there.
Exactly. And other discriminatory lending, segregation. It actively stopped them from buying homes, from building that generational wealth that was becoming central to the dream for white families.
So the main path was blocked for them.
Pretty much. And women, too, often shut out of the educational and job opportunities that men had. And, Native Americans, other minorities, they face huge barriers too. So while the promise was universal access, the reality, deeply stratified, right from the start of that so-called golden age, the blueprint had walls.
And those walls, that stratification, didn't just disappear. It sort of laid the foundation for the problems we see now. When did things start to feel, shaky? When did the dream begin to feel out of reach for more people?
Well, if you follow the economic clues, the ground started shifting noticeably in the 70s and 80s. That's when you see the decline of those big manufacturing industries, the rise of globalization, wealth started to concentrate more at the top.
The beginning of the widening gap.
Right? These weren't just small changes. They were creating new systemic hurdles to moving up. That gap between rich and poor started to grow, and the middle class, the core of that golden age dream, began to shrink. It was like the ladder was being pulled up.
Were there specific moments that really accelerated that feeling, thinking maybe late 90s, early 2000s?
Definitely. The 90s were a mixed bag. You had the tech boom creating new millionaires, but manufacturing jobs kept disappearing. And crucially, college costs started to really climb. That made it harder to get the education that was supposedly the key.
And then 2008?
Yeah. The 2008 financial crisis was a watershed moment, no question. The housing market collapsed, wiped out savings for millions. The Great Recession followed longest slump since the Great Depression. People lost homes, jobs. The psychological hit was massive.
It felt like the floor dropped out.
It really did. And since then, there's just this growing feeling backed by data that the dream is genuinely in trouble. Inequalities hit levels we haven't seen since the 1920s. The top 1% are capturing most of the growth.
Well, everyone else's wages are just stuck.
Pretty much stagnant, yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the cost of basic stuff, housing, healthcare, education, just keeps going up and up. It's like the opposite of the post-war promise.
So bring it down to today. For someone listening, what are those specific roadblocks, the everyday things making that classic dream feel so hard to reach? How does this actually affect, your life?
Okay, yeah, the concrete barriers now are pretty significant. They really shape how people see themselves, their communities. Let's start with education. It's always been sold as the great equalizer.
Right, path up.
But the cost of college now, it's astronomical for many. People are taking on crippling student loan debt. That debt hangs over you, makes it way harder to do the traditional dream things, buy a house, start a business, even just save for retirement. It changes the calculation.
Okay, so education is one major hurdle. What else?
Then there's work itself. The whole nature of it has changed. You've got the gig economy, fewer jobs with good benefits like pensions or solid health insurance. Automation is looming. It creates a lot of uncertainty.
Right. Even if you have a full-time job, it might not be enough.
Exactly. Loads of people working full-time are still struggling. That really cuts against the grain of work hard and you'll get ahead.
And housing, that core symbol.
Oh, housing is a huge one. Owning a home, that central piece of the dream, it's just out of reach for so many now, especially younger people, people without family money. Costs have soared way faster than incomes in loads of places.
Making it feel almost impossible.
It can, yeah. And then pile on healthcare costs. Medical bills are the #1 reason for bankruptcy in the U.S. Just the fear of getting sick and facing huge bills can stop people from taking risks, like starting that small business.
It's like a constant background anxiety.
It is. It limits choices.
And we know these hurdles don't hit everyone the same way.
Yeah.
How do things like race or even generation play into this? How do different groups experience these challenges?
That's a really vital layer to unpack. Race and ethnicity are, frankly, critical factors. Study after study shows people of color still face big barriers, discrimination in getting housing, jobs, loans.
Chill, even now.
Yes. And what's really stark is the wealth gap. The difference in wealth between white families and families of color has actually gotten wider in recent decades. It shows these systemic issues are persistent, really challenging that idea of equal access.
And what about different generations? I hear a lot about millennials and Gen Z feeling differently.
There's a definite generational divide. Baby boomers often came of age in that booming economy. Housing was more affordable. College wasn't as expensive. Many found it relatively easier to achieve parts of the dream.
Compared to now.
Exactly. Millennials, Gen Z, they're facing a much tougher economic landscape.
Yeah.
So yeah, you hear it a lot. Many younger people genuinely feel like that traditional American dream just isn't achievable for them anymore. And that leads to real frustration, disillusionment, and you see it playing out politically too.
So, okay, if this core idea, this central myth of a society starts to unravel, what happens? What are the ripple effects when that promise feels broken?
Oh, the effects are huge. They touch everything: politics, psychology, culture, the economy.
Let's take politics first.
Politically, you see this growing feeling that the system is rigged, that it doesn't work for ordinary people anymore. And that fuels polarization,
Yeah.
right? It fuels populist movements, both on the left and the right. People feel the dream's been hijacked by the powerful.
And psychologically, for individuals.
It creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, that uncomfortable feeling when your beliefs clash with reality. You want to believe hard work pays off, because that's what you were told, but your experience or what you see around you says something different. That leads to disappointment, cynicism,
We
disillusionment.
see that reflected in culture too, right?
Absolutely. Artists, writers, filmmakers, they're exploring the darker side of the dream, the ways it can crush people. But you also see a counter movement, people trying to actively redefine success. Maybe it's not about the big house and the fancy car anymore. Maybe it's about community, relationships, personal growth, finding meaning outside of just money,
A shift in values, perhaps.
potentially. And economically, think about it. If people stop believing that upward mobility is possible, why invest in education? Why take the risk of starting a business? Why push yourself? It could actually harm economic growth and stability in the long run.
And socially, what does losing that shared dream do?
Socially, the dream, for all its flaws, kind of acted like glue sometimes, a shared aspiration. If that fades, you risk more fragmentation, more conflict, maybe different groups feeling like they're fighting over a shrinking pie.
So looking forward, what's the path? Does the dream just need a total rewrite for the 21st century? Or is there a way to restore that traditional idea?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there's a real debate. Some argue, yeah, we need to redefine it, focus less on just individual wealth, more on things like community well-being, social mobility for everyone, sustainability, maybe access to good healthcare and education as part of the dream
Wow.
itself. More collective, perhaps. Others say, no, the traditional dream can still work, but we need major policy changes. Things to tackle inequality head-on, actively create more opportunity, really level the playing field.
Which gets into big political questions about the role of government.
Exactly. How much intervention is needed or wanted to make the dream accessible again? There's no easy answer there.
So it really sounds like the future of this whole idea hinges on a lot of things clicking together. The economy needs to deliver good jobs, rising wages. Society has to be willing to actually tackle inequality. And individuals probably need to adapt too.
Yeah, it's complex. It suggests the dream probably does need to evolve significantly to fit today's reality. But maybe it can still hold on to that core promise, that idea of opportunity and possibility.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, the American dream isn't just about economics, is it? It's so tied up in American identity, American culture. It shapes how people see themselves, their country, their future.
It's always been both things.
Exactly. Both a promise and a challenge. The promise of what's possible and the, frankly, enormous challenge of creating a society where that possibility is real for everyone.
And meeting that challenge, that's going to take some serious creativity, some compassion, and like you said earlier, a real willingness to face some uncomfortable truths about where we are and where we're going.
No doubt about it.
So, as you're thinking about all this, maybe ask yourself, what does the American dream mean to you today? And what changes do you see happening to that promise in the world around you?